hysterical. I signal it again. The light swings through the camp a second time. Now my friend is literally on the ground in a fetal position, completely come apart. Crying, screaming, snot-nosed, drooling, just out of it. I signaled the spacecraft a third time, and a giant light turned on. The light had to be, a quarter acre in size. Turned on just off the center on this side, not where the light was. Turned on. And when it turned on, I went, oh, I knew I did too much then, so I just put the light down. We have our own theories on what happened after that. I can't speak for it because they wipe your brain clean immediately whenever they take anybody. That's an easy thing to do to a lowly human. So now, we leave the area. We get, it's just too much. Okay, so we leave the area. We go back down where we had our vehicle stashed. Now, we've been in there for a couple months. Now, we pitched a camp by the river that night, a tent. All of a sudden, this guy, this ratty old, small kind of station wagon, I don't know, Toyota type or something, station wagon came down and parked, and this guy, tall, skinny guy, gets out, and it's right at dark again, and he walks across the river and sets up his tent. So we don't think anything of it. The guy comes, because a lot of people come down there, not a lot, but during a big holiday, they might have 4 couples down there or something. But they go down to this river, so we didn't think anything of it. Well, in the morning, the guy breaks his camp down, and he's packing it in his vehicle. Well, we find this kind of odd that someone would drive down this 4-wheel drive dirt road, and we're 14 miles down the dirt road at this point, to where that's where you leave the river to drive up, because the camp we were in was north of there. So the guy, we find it kind of odd that somebody would drive down there just to pitch a night tent to pack it up and leave again. So we said, hey, how you doing, to the guy. Well, he comes over and he's got a pair of jeans on. He doesn't have a shirt on. So he comes up to us and we start talking to him. The guy is standing there. He's got 12 rivets, real rivets, like the snap rivet on a jean, but just slightly bigger around. Yet the center part that sticks out and everything. He's got 12 rivets in his body. They go down both sides of his chest, crisscross over and under his belly button. I'm standing there staring as I'm talking to the man. He's got shoulder length, straight brown hair. He's a skinny guy, about 6'3". I'm standing there talking to the guy, and I'm staring at these rivets because I'm looking for scar tissue. These things are below skin level, and they're down his body. So I see absolutely no scar tissue whatsoever. So the guy leaves. All we talk about is mine and my buddy's experiences about the UFOs. That's all we talked about. And then the guy leaves. So I turned to my friend. I said, well, what do you think? He says, yeah, he's got some disease. And he's got to be hooked up to a machine. He must, because he must be really dying. I said, yeah, he must really have something, So we both kind of put it off like he had some disease. Well, then an hour later, after obviously both of us are thinking about this stuff, I said to him, hey, you believe the guy had a disease? He goes, no. He says, I don't know what it was. I said, I don't know either. So we go, oh man, this is weird stuff. Well, at the time, I had never heard of an android's description. Months after we had come out, this was in 1990, months after we had come out of there, I had heard my first description of androids, and it fit this guy to a T. Now, so anyway, so now we go to this ranch, which is 4 miles up the dirt road. It's 12 miles off the paved road to the first ranch you come to. There's like 2 people who work there. All right, so now we come up, and there's this guy spray painting a barn. So we stopped to talk to him. And he was an old Mexican guy. And he had an old Indian guy with him. And then come to find out in a few minutes that there was a big old white dude inside the trailer. So we're talking to him. We're not saying anything about UFOs to these guys because we already learned about talking to the guy by the river. We don't want to, this is too much. So They say, you'd like a beer. We said, sure, we haven't had beer in months, so yeah, we'd like a beer. So they get a beer, and he says, oh, the manager's going to be coming out. Well, the guy walks out the door, smacks a me of a retired military guy right off the get. So we're standing there having a beer, and I say to the guys, I don't want to bring up the UFOs at all, but now I'm thinking, all right, these C-130s that have been flying over our heads all this time, it's been going on and on and on. I said, I know about the wind patterns, and the days that if the wind pattern, they wouldn't have come in from the north, they would have come in from the south. So he would have had some. So I said to all the three guys, I said, have you people ever had any C-130s fly in 100, 200 feet off the ground, off the deck is the terminology I use. I said, you ever had them flying that far off the deck? And they said, no. Well, I'm kind of shocked. I said, what? None of you guys have ever seen a C-130 camouflage coming here? And they said, no. So we're drinking a beer, and within 1 minute, a camouflage C-130 comes, flies over our head at 100 feet off the deck. You can see the guys in the cockpit. I just turned to the one big guy and said, so what do you think? And I pointed up like that, and I realized this is not cool, because obviously I don't believe in coincidences, all right? So that's it. I go, Bob, let's go. We get in a vehicle and we leave. Now, Bob was a guy who had always worked 2 jobs his entire life. This guy was a workaholic back in high school and junior high school, and this guy was always working. He came from a big family. He was always working. He didn't have a job for 10 years when we got back from that place. He fit into the description of all the people who'd ever been picked up. But if you don't have it in your mind's eye and know who these people are that are picking you up, then you don't have a chance, all right? They just wipe your mind clean. They do their experiments on you. They do whatever. If you are empty inside the head spiritually, then you are free fodder for them. So, 4 years, I went back to the spot by myself. I went back in there. But none of that can be verified. Nothing that went on in there can be verified, so we just forget about it. But I do have to remind you that I did point out to the guy before we ever went in there. Well, I also pointed out some seraphim to him, which are what you would call angels, a certain type. I pointed out one time, and one appeared as it came out of the universe. Came out of the universe, it swooped down like this. The man actually jumped up and took off running. That's how much he thought this thing was coming in to see us. But that's something else you'll learn about later. 4 years later, there's this writer named Jack. He wrote a book about Vietnam. He went through some bad experiences over there. Jack was always into anything. He had heard my stories about this for years through my cousin and stuff. So he was always like a Bigfoot. He believed in Bigfoot, which could probably tie into the tall grays with big noses, because they're a vegetarian. They breathe carbon dioxide. All right, we breathe oxygen. They breathe carbon dioxide. They're plant life with a spirit. Now, so he decided he wanted to go out there. Well, Jack drank a lot and he smoked cigarettes. Vietnam vet. I'm a Vietnam vet also. But he saw action. This guy saw action. So we go out there. We hike all our supplies in. It takes us 3 days to hike our supplies in. At the end of 3 days, he's coughing up a little blood from the exertion and higher altitude, less oxygen, just spitting up a little blood. And so we put camp. We went past where our camp was on the side of this mountain, or else this next UFO that we saw.